In a small village by the mountains, there lived a man named Ismail, known for his intelligence and resourcefulness. Ismail was an ambitious merchant who dreamed of expanding his business and providing a comfortable life for his family. Yet, despite his hard work, he had one flaw. He often neglected his daily prayers, always claiming he was too busy. "I'll pray after I finish this task," Ismail would tell himself, pushing his Salah aside in the rush of daily life. The Prophet, peace be upon him, had once said, "The first thing a person will be questioned about on the Day of Judgment is their prayer." Ismail heard this hadith many times, but never took it to heart, believing that his worldly efforts were enough to secure his success. One night, after a long day of work, Ismail felt an overwhelming exhaustion, and he finally went to sleep. In his sleep, he had a vivid dream. The Day of Judgment had arrived, and people were gathered in front of Allah. The angels were distributing scrolls, and each person's deeds were weighed, with one question preceding all others: "Did you pray?" Ismail stood nervously, waiting for his turn. When his scroll was opened, it was found lacking in Salah. "Your deeds are incomplete," the angels said. "For the most important thing you were asked to do, you neglected." The dream was so vivid, Ismail awoke in a cold sweat, heart pounding in fear. It felt like a warning from Allah. He sat up in bed, looking around his room in the dark, realizing he had been prioritizing everything over his Salah. The next morning, Ismail went to the mosque for the Fajr prayer, something he hadn't done consistently in years. As he stood in prayer, he felt a peace and tranquility he had never experienced before. It was as though his soul was revived. From that day forward, Ismail made Salah his priority. He prayed on time, focusing fully on his connection with Allah. At first, it wasn't easy. His business was demanding, and he often had to pause his work to pray. But each time he prayed, he felt a sense of strength and confidence that he hadn't felt before. His life seemed to align. Over time, his business began to thrive in ways Ismail couldn't have anticipated. Customers trusted him more, and his transactions flourished. "Allah is rewarding me for my faithfulness," Ismail realized one evening after a particularly successful day in his shop. He remembered the words of the Prophet, peace be upon him, "The first thing a person will be questioned about is their prayer." The more Ismail prayed, the more he saw that his needs were being met in ways that seemed almost miraculous. One day, an old man came to him, asking for assistance in finding a new home for his family. Ismail immediately helped, even though his resources were limited. As he did, he felt an immense satisfaction in his heart. The next week, Ismail received an unexpected business opportunity that quadrupled his profits. He knew this was Allah's blessing. He shared his story with the villagers, telling them how Salah had transformed his life, and they were amazed. "I used to think my hard work alone was enough," Ismail confessed, "but now I know that Salah is my true source of strength." The villagers began to follow Ismail's example, prioritizing their prayers. Slowly, the entire village began to prosper. Years later, Ismail became known as a man of wisdom, always sharing the importance of Salah with others. He would often say, "Make Salah your priority, and Allah will prioritize your needs. Trust in Him above all." One evening, Ismail sat with his children, teaching them how to pray with sincerity, as his father had once taught him. "When you stand in prayer," he said, "you are not just asking for blessings, but strengthening your bond with Allah." His children listened attentively, understanding that Salah was not just an act of worship, but the key to a fulfilling life. As Ismail grew older, his faith deepened. He never missed a prayer, even when his body became frail. He would sit by the window, watching the sun set, thanking Allah for the countless blessings his Salah had brought him. One day, Ismail fell ill and knew that his time in this world was coming to an end. He called his family together and reminded them, "Never neglect your prayers, for they are your lifeline to Allah's mercy." As he took his last breath, his family prayed for him, knowing he had left behind a legacy of faith. The villagers continued to honor Ismail's memory, and his story became a beacon for all who struggle with their prayers. Ismail's legacy was clear. Make Salah your priority and Allah will prioritize your needs, a truth that guided countless lives.